So this is the day when they're talking about the backtracking Liz Truss and still not so fully backtracking Crazy Kwarteng at the Tory Jamboree being staged at Birmingham in the East, the Midlands, English Midlands, with the Times running the front page lead item saying Shaps and Gove are among the main kind of opponents of Liz Truss's crazy Kwarteng adventure of tax cutting. And even Nadine Dorries, one of the most crazy conservatives in the years of congenital liar Boris Johnson's criminal insanity, Nadine Dorries is calling for Liz Truss to call an election, general election in this country, which is coming straight from the songbook, playbook, played, followed by the Labour Party in Liverpool only days earlier. So, and the Daily Mirror is saying that Truss is finished, as is the Daily Mirror's kind of sister publication, the Glasgow Daily Record, on the front page. We're talking about today, Monday, the 3rd of October 2022. And this is the KhoodeelaarTV television channel, broadcasting on the internet, not on satellite, not on terrestrial, not on cable platforms. This is the first edition of This Day Today, Monday, the 3rd of October 2022, and we shall be hopefully doing a longer version later. This one will be shorter comparatively. This is now 28 hours GMT on Monday, the 3rd of October 2022. By all accounts, Liz Truss, of course, they are acknowledging this now, but as I keep saying, Liz Truss, when she was launched by that pervert, David Cameron, as one of the conservatives that he fancied taking over from a less kind of unreliable person. She was parachuted in, as they say. And that was one of the things that so-called leaders of the parties in Britain do, the parachute. The parachute unsuitable, corrupt, and immoral candidates that they fancy, and they flick them on the local conservative parties. Well, this is not just the leadership. In the case of the Labour Party in the 1980s, parachuting in Dirty Diane Abbott in Hackney. Dirty Di was foisted on Hackney by undermining a long-standing trade union supporting white member of parliament. And it had been decided by the Labour Party establishment at the time that Dirty Di needed to be given a constituency. And she was, of course, Dati Dai was the one that had been promoted wearing that T-shirt, flaunting black section, Labour Party black sections. And the Labour Party black sections is something I opposed from the very beginning. I am the only one who opposed it. I'm the only one, meaning I am the only one in the kind of notice of the Labour Party publicly and the political activists in this country. Remember, the Daily Mirror misreported my intervention in the House of Commons at a gathering, and not in the parliamentary House of Commons, but in a room in the House of Commons in May 1986. I think it was the 30th of May 1986 when I intervened against the Labour Party, black sections and whatever. And I objected to Joe Richardson, the MP for Barking area that is now, I think, held by Margaret Hodge. My condemnation was not against Joe Richardson whatsoever, but it shows the depth of the stupidity of the Fleet Street Papers. I had a row with a racist white woman, much younger than Joe Richardson. In any case, whatever the age, this racist idiot had the stupid effrontery to criticize my being there, saying that I had no invitation or something like that. That is the kind of thing that goes on very much within the Labour Party corrupt settings. So I was having a go at that racist temerity, and I was saying that I had every right to be there, because if the Labour Party bureaucracy was discussing the future participation, the democratic participation of the people, especially people belonging to the demography that contained me, then I didn't have to justify myself to a racist like her or any other racist. I was entitled to be there as a member of the Labour Party. And words to that effect, and I left it there. And as the racist retreated, she didn't actually follow up. I think by the time I had reached the midway of my deliberation, she understood that she could not go ahead and justify her stupidity. So she disappeared. As far as I could see, I couldn't see her any longer. And I don't either remember her name or her position, but she was one of the flunkies, the racist flunkies that too many of them are in the Labour Party bureaucracy. One of the things that will happen if the political murderer of the Labour Party, Keir Starmer, gets to form the government, as Beth Rigby tipped him to be and prompted him to say he would be. Now, on that occasion of the 30th of May, 1986, my assertion was nothing to do with Joe Richardson whatsoever, as I said. But all the newspapers, including the Daily Mirror, reported the event of my kind of intervention there as my condemning Joe Richardson as a racist. They added that I had condemned Joe Richardson because, as a white woman, they said that she should not be chairing the black section or the equivalent of what constituted at that time, at that stage, the black section. I had not said any such thing for two reasons. One is that was not what the purpose of my intervention was. It wasn't about who was chairing. And secondly, on the evidence of Joe Richardson's kind of participation as a member of parliament, my reading of her was that she was racist, but she was not anywhere near as bad a racist as the others. So I would not target her for any criticism, and I did not. But the fact that all the papers, Fleet Street newspapers, the Daily Mirror, the Mail, the Sun, whatever others, reported me as having condemned Joe Richardson showed that the shallowness of the Fleet Street political journalists. The morons didn't ask me why I had the outburst, which is what it was. Because I was shocked to see that confected story that they had worked out now, who they kind of consulted and who took part in the manufacturing of that twisted story about my intervention. I still don't know, but somebody must have done that in order to discredit me. Now they didn't bother because I have never set myself out to be an MP or a political careerist. My morality and my ethics and my action very much depend on my being able to tell the truth. That matters more than my becoming an MP or a minister or whatever. I have never wanted to be a minister or whatever at the expense of my principles, which is what always becomes the crucial deciding factor. So that was what the Daily Mirror said on the 31st of May, 1986. Anyone watching this should go to the archives and check. There is a story on the 31st of May in 1986 in Fleet Street Papers about me. And it's a long kind of gone item in that it happened in 1986. But I can tell you, I can say that on the record, that it was a misleading, totally misleading, fabricated story. My stance on that occasion, on the 30th of May, and before, and I'll come to before, and since, is against anything to do with the black section type of Bantustan kind of cornering of people based on ethnicity or ethnic background. My thesis always had been and remains that if there is a black section in the Labour Party, then that by definition says that the Labour Party is an apartheid party. There are two types of people in the Labour Party. I say that universally, the Labour Party or any party should be the same party for all people of all backgrounds. And by accepting or by creating that Bantustan black section, the idiots had defied and broken away from the founding objectives of the Labour Party, which I know that the founding objectives I refer to quite often, and nobody else really refers to them. I have to qualify Keir Hardie. Now, Keir Hardie really was not an anti-racist in any way. He was a trade unionist, and his vision actually was based on the trade unions and the so-called class kind of thing. And therefore, Keir Hardie's founding objectives lacked a lot of the objectives that I would include in the founding objectives of the Labour Party if I were having anything to do with it. Now, in Newham, which is where A lot of the founding activities took place with K.R. Hardy being active in Newham, what is Newham now. The crooks in the council, Newham Council, called Ruxana Fiaz, who is the foisted, corrupt elected mayor, and the elected Labour councillors, these people are as alien to the ideal founding objectives of the Labour Party that I would belong to and I would support. As alien as they are to the objective, the ideal founding objectives and aims of another party that is ideologically absolutely pure. Newham remains one of the worst operated local councils in all of England. As I said to Robin Wales, the directly elected mayor in post for 16 years, from 2002 up to 2018, when I was having this on-air row with him, exchange with him. Robin Wales is one of the most bigoted, ignorant, corrupt Labour Party careerists that can be found in the list or on the list of the Labour Party careerists anywhere in the UK. So Robin Wales appeared there, and I appeared by complete accident, because until about 40 minutes before the program went on air, that was on a satellite program, satellite broadcast called Channel I Europe, hosted by somebody called Shuaib, Raza Ahmad Shuaib Chowdhury. Now, Shuaib Chowdhury made a phone call to a mobile number that I was using at the time, while I was trying to use what is called the Internet Cafe in Whitechapel. Now, anyone who is familiar with Whitechapel, the public transport system, and the Crisp Street Market, which is where the station was based, anyone who is familiar with that and the transport system would know that to get from that place where I was, which is a cafe opposite the Altavali Park, would take a helicopter ride, not going by bus, going by DLR, whatever. But I managed to get there within minutes of it going on air. I'm cutting it short, but I got there. Now, Shuaib Chowdhury said to me that he had a guest coming and would I help him with a briefing. On the phone, I was using the Internet Cafe, and Shuaib wanted me to brief him on what to say to Robin Wales and how to say it. And then I said, well, it cannot be done. It has to be done personally. Now, why he called me, I have no idea, but he obviously didn't know who else to call. And that shows that Shuaib Chowdhury knew that there was no one in the whole Bangladeshi community, in the whole of Europe, that he could call for advice on how to confront Robin Wales. That is on the record. So when I said that it had to be done personally, he said that, well, Robin Wales doesn't want anyone else. Now, how did that happen? Did I call him? Did I know that this was going on? Or did I have a craving for appearing on television? Long before Shuaib Chowdhury left his primary school or even went to primary school, I had been featured as the main leading news item on an international channel in January 1970. From January 1970 up to that date, which is when this conversation was taking place in August, in March 2018, I had done more public events and featured in more public events than Shoaib Chowdhury could recognize. So that was an outrageous, offensive act of idiocy, ignorant ingratitude on the part of Shoaib Chowdhury. I put this on the record. Let Shoaib Chowdhury reply, and I shall follow it up. It's prima facie Shoaib Chowdhury. Now, I arrived there, and I don't believe that when I arrived there in my usually kind of unorganized clothing, I don't think the solo guest Shoaib Chowdhury was sitting with, Robin Wales, had any idea politically as to what he was about to encounter. Remember, I am the man who made Zulfikar Ali Bhutto cry, weep effectively as he left the Institute of Engineers in the 1960s, probably before Shoaib Chowdhury was born, or when Shoaib Chowdhury was 2 years old or 1 year old. So I sat there, and Shoaib Chowdhury's mentality was that Robin Wales was more important than me. How he decided that, he did not explain, but it wasn't obvious and it wasn't evident on the contents. Because it was me who Shoaib Chowdhury sought help from in dealing with Robin Wales. I got there, and during the half an hour that the program was on air, Shoaib Chowdhury deferred to Robin Wales by using the expression, he is the mayor, that is, Robin Wales was the mayor, by which he meant, Shoaib Chowdhury meant, that therefore Robin Wales deserved the upper hand in the exchange. Anyone looking at the actual exchange would have concluded that he might be the mayor or have been the mayor, but he didn't have the control of the situation in terms of the exchange, in terms of the evidence. So I said to Robin Wales, and notice how Robin Wales completely distorted this. It was like Lutfur Rahman in October 2010 misunderstanding David Cohen's question about Lutfur Rahman not stopping Lutfur Rahman's so-called supporters from spreading the rumor or the allegation against Abbas alias Halal having beaten up his wife. Because Lutfur Rahman understood that completely wrongly. He said to David Cohen that Lutfur Rahman, had not beaten up his wife or attacked his wife. That is not what David Cohen had talked about. So when the program went underway and Robin Wales made his spiel, because remember what Shoaib Chowdhury was doing, he was deferring to Robin Wales and giving him the prime say. So I waited until Robin Wales had done his introduction. And Robin Wales had done a very stupid introduction, stupid on the evidence. And when I said whatever I said, I'm not looking at the transcript, but the transcript is available. When I said that Newham was one of the most corrupt bureaucracies because of the additional imposition of the elected mayor on the council. Robin Wells totally misunderstood that. Or Robin Wells totally distorted what I had said and he said that I was insulting the people of Newham. I said that because of the corrupt council, the people of Newham were being let down, betrayed, misrepresented. And Robin Wells said that I was insulting the people of Newham. And Shoaib Chaudhary did not understand this very fundamental distortion by Robin Wells. So Shoaib Chaudhary let that pass. That is to say, he did notice, and the conversation or the exchanges between me and Robin Wells continued to take place. Now, what Shoaib Chaudhary never understood and will never understand is that he could not find anyone among the established intellectuals in Bangladesh that he refers to, especially Kamal Hussein or Kamal Ahmad, the Kamal Hussein, the lawyer that kind of reportedly advised Sheikh Mujib on constitution, etc., etc. He could not call on Kamal Hussein to deal with a situation where Kamal Hussein had not been briefed, notified, or told about a guest that he was going to confront or he was going to face in a live television program. Now, I am the only one who had done the research, not because I expected this to happen, but I do the research as a rule, as my ethical, fact-based, evidence-based campaign throughout the day, 247. Now, I knew who Robin Wells was politically. And because I knew that Shoaib would collapse out of embarrassment, I didn't say something else that I could have said on the air about Robin Wells. But I didn't do that because I'm very generous, very gracious, and I'm very kind and considerate, unlike Shoaib Chaudhary, who showed no generosity or respect for my appearing there, let alone dealing with the whales on air in the way that I did. And I'll say more about this. Because the day after, or 2 days after this, when the actual election by the Labour Party or selection of the by the Labour Party of the candidate for the mayor election was announced, Shoaib Chaudhary went to that event, wherever it took place, and he told me that 4 or 5 members of the Labour Party present at that event told Shoaib Chaudhary that say our thanks to Mr. Muhammad Haq for dealing with Robin Wells the way he did, especially Mr. Muhammad Haq. And Shoaib Chaudhary was excited as he said that. It was his achievement. That is how he came across. I don't mind at all, because what I did want to make sure was that I didn't want to disappoint any audience members, anyone watching, with any kind of question or comment or observation that gave an advantage, evidentially or politically, to Robin Wells. So I didn't. But Shoaib Chaudhary should not underestimate my generosity, my character, my record, and he must not forget what happened on that occasion. This is something unforgettable, that half an hour, and what happened afterwards. So what happened was that this was possible. The fact that Robin Wells had been in the post of mayor at the expense of Newham from 2002 until 2018, which is when he was replaced by the Labour Party members in Newham who selected Roxana Fias. That was 16 years. And in the 16 years, the people of Newham had not been able to experience any democratically accountable Newham Council, and most certainly no accountability by Robin Wales. Wales is, apart from Steve Bullock of Lewisham, Robin Wales is the most outrageous, grossest, most ignorant and offensive, stupid holder of that post, who was allowed by the corrupt Labour Party to remain mayor for as long as he did. And Robin Wales' list of outrageous, idiotic acts is too long to be recited. But Shoaib wasn't aware of that. He was reading somebody's messages on the mobile. That was his briefing. That was not anything to do with matching what Robin Wales needed. Now, the fact that Robin Wales was there for 16 years showed that Newham, of all places in the country, in the United Kingdom, so-called, is the place that has the least democratic Labour Party. Because there is no other party. There is no other party represented on Newham Council. So not only does it show that the Labour Party is not democratic, it also shows that, and it continues to show that, all the other parties, including the Conservatives, to which Shoaib belongs to the Conservative Party, as he said to me, whispered during the program on air, that he didn't want a certain aspect, a certain point to be made, because then he would find out that he, Shoaib, was a member of the Conservative Party. Now, I protected Shoaib Choudhury from the wrath of Robin Wales, which Shoaib Choudhury was afraid of, not me. But I was being kind, and Shoaib Choudhury must understand that that is an act of kindness. I didn't owe it to Shoaib Choudhury to protect him while he was being dishonest. He was being tactful, but he was essentially being dishonest. If I belonged to a party and I was on a program, I would never conceal that. But Shoaib Choudhury did conceal that. Not only that, he wanted my kind of support. I didn't support him as I protected him from public embarrassment, because that would have given Robin Wales a big hand with which to embarrass Shoaib Choudhury. Now, the fact that Robin Wales was there for 16 years showed the political imbecility of the Conservative Party in Newham, the political death of the Lib Dems, the political death of the Greens and any other party. Because as I said before, in 2006, when George Galloway and his so-called disrespect launched a number of candidates as candidates for the disrespect in Newham at the local council election in 2006, May 2006, they all came very low with the votes because the people of Newham didn't give a shit about George Galloway. So he must remember that he didn't get shit from people of Newham. Well, they gave him shit, but not in the serious political sense. So for Galloway to claim that it was him that paved the way for the, quote, his word, Bengalis to become an MP from Tower Hamlets for the first time, it was unforgivable, criminal, racist outrage and stupidity. And all Galloway's so-called racist kind of advisors should be ashamed of the disgraceful way they allowed him to say that and not apologize for it. So the K.R. Hardy operated from Newham. And when Roxana Fias boasted that the Newham Borough was the kind of place where the Labour Party was founded, and she was very proud of these. Roxana Fias had no idea what she was boasting about. Because it seems to me, on the evidence, that the likes of creeps like the Guardian's Dave Hill, creeps like the Guardian, former Guardian, kind of London Diary person, Dave Hill, and other creeps in the so-called Fleet Street paper think that Roxana Fias is a considerable political figure. How do they work that out? They say she is Muslim. Well, that remains to be actually demonstrated to what extent. And they said that she is a woman. Of course, I mean that is a prima facie kind of appearance. But how significant is that? So Muslim woman, mayor, I mean, what does it all mean? I mean, it means nothing. Because Roxana Fias personally lied to me. Twice she approached me from behind in Newham, and twice she praised me and thanked me. And later she remained silent when I reminded of the incidents. And she has not taken any action against the liars in Newham Council that I communicated to her about, the evidence about. So Roxana Fias is a liar, no matter whether she is a Muslim level liar or not. It matters not. It is because Newham Council is a one-party council, the Labour Party council. And Fias is a liar, as is every single creep that she kind of gives a pathetic kind of token advantage, like putting them in charge of a kind of cabinet platform without any power. Roxana Fias is a liar, Robin Wales was a liar, and every single Labour Party councillor in Newham has to be a liar, unless they, of course, oppose her lying. But they haven't been opposing her lying. So this is the story of Newham, where the K.R. Hardy apparently founded the Labour Party. If this is the Labour Party's founding Labour Party's place, then there is no chance that the second K.R., whose parents named him after K.R. Hardy, in their wildest fantasy. Now, this K.R. Hardy, we call him the political murderer of the Labour Party. And this K.R. Starmer is not K.R. Hardy. This political murderer of the Labour Party is K.R. Starmer. He will not deliver a democratic parliament if it's a big if he gets in with the majority Labour Party members of parliament. And he will not deliver a democratizing government. When we talked about the 1947 staged withdrawal by the British imperialists from the subcontinent, we said a lot of the issues about independence needed to be addressed over the 75 years that followed, which is up to now. Now we refer to Imran Khan saying, Pakistan ka matlab kya? And the answer to that slogan is La ilaha illallah. Now that is true, but that is not politically the full story. And as the member of the Lahore Lawyers Bar Association acknowledged, the real Pakistan was East Pakistan. And significantly, despite the fact that Imran Khan has been shouting the slogan Pakistan ka matlab kya, la ilaha illallah, Imran Khan has remained very noticeably silent on that claim, which he cannot deny, which no member of the PTI can deny, which no one else can deny. Because the people of East Pakistan, the leaders, the campaigners, the fighters of East Pakistan in the 1930s, 40s, 20s, 30s, 40s were the leaders leading the campaign that led to the creation of these two countries politically. And the leadership of Sher Bangla Fazlul Haq, the leadership of Maulana Abdul Hamid Khan Bashani, the leadership of Fazlul, what's his name? This Fazlul Qadir Chowdhury from Chittagong. These are the people that fought. Well, Fazlul Qadir Chowdhury especially was a leading fighter in the streets of Noakhali and Kolkata when the Hindu-Muslim fights took place. There are various interpretations about the Noakhali fights because the Noakhali fights are often referred to as attacks on the Hindus. But attacks on the Hindus and attacks on the Muslims took place both ways. But those were the less significant events. The real events were held in the arguments about rights and kind of separation and the sovereignty of the countries and all the arguments that we can detail in due course later. So what these people said about what would happen after the British went, a lot of that needs revisiting, and a lot of that has needed revisiting in the last 75 years. So when I opposed the black sections in May 1986, in that meeting or at that meeting in the House of Commons, in a room in the House of Commons, Westminster, I did that based on a long-standing, clear, ethical, moral, democratic line of activities that I have followed and I do follow. I said that the black section was a complete and utter disgrace because it was misrepresenting the situation within the Labour Party, misrepresenting the situation in the United Kingdom politics and political party, United Kingdom Parliament. And I said the black section would not only not solve racism, but it would exacerbate racism, aggravate racism. Now, in a piece by Joseph Harker, now Joseph Harker is employed by The Guardian as a diversity display kind of careerist. Joseph Harker previously worked on the straightforward, quite black owned or black operated titles. He had some things to do with the voice as well. Now, in his piece, Joseph Harker gives too much credit to Alex Pascal. Alex Pascal, according to his Wikipedia entry, was born in 1936, which makes him 85 years old, I think. Now, Pascal has been sitting on the recordings of my speech. I gave the keynote speech in 1981 at the conference that took place as a result of my initiative, which persuaded, let's say, the Commission for Racial Equality to hold the UK-wide Conference of Black People, Black activists, etc., etc. And I was the keynote speaker. Of course, there were other speakers, and those other speakers included Alex Pascal himself and Mike Phillips, the elder brother of Trevor Terrible Phillips. Mike Phillips, Alex Pascal, Muhammad Haq, and Mr. Tasadduq Ahmad. Mr. Tasadduq Ahmad is a senior person to me, so I call him Mr., although he's deceased and is gone now. He was there as the editor of the Asian, which he published with the help of his wife, who is deceased as well. And I was there as the editor of the Odhikar Weekly. That was 1981. Now, at that meeting, I gave the speech, the keynote speech, which by all accounts was the most effective speech to those who attended it, even the event. Now, I had no way of recording it because I was there in a rush and I had not brought or taken with me any equipments. So Alex Pascal promised that he would give me a copy of this because he made a copy in front of me. And I chaired the various sessions that followed the following day of the event. That was a weekend event. Now, Alex Pascal and I bumped into each other a few times since then. That was 1981, remember. And I'll come to the night when, was it Pascal who was about to throw himself out of the window because of the pressure of my questioning in preparing for the following day's sessions. Pascal's promised that he would give me the copies. Then I met him in 2011 at the counter of the county court, which is Shoreditch and Clerkenwell and Shoreditch County Court. I don't know what he was there for. But I was there as part of a series of court litigation against the crooks, Tower Hamlets community housing, the morons, the racist liars, and the racists in the Tower Hamlets Council, which was fronted by Lutfer Rahman at the time. So I bumped into Alex Pascal and I told him about the recording. And he agreed to come and meet me. And I did follow that up and I sent him several emails. Pascal has ignored all of those. Now let me tell Joseph Harka that if he promotes Alex Pascal, he should ask him, why did Pascal lie to me about something that belongs to me, has belonged to me from the minute that I delivered that particular speech in 1981 in Birmingham. And Joseph Harka can expect emails and postal letters from me to this effect. And Joseph Harka must publish what I am saying. Alex Pascal owes, and Alex Pascal does not have the credit that Harka gives to Pascal in his piece promoting Pascal. Pascal didn't give voice to the black population on the BBC Radio London. Without me, the contents of the entirety of the output of BBC Radio London would be absolutely different. I gave the main voice. Whenever I spoke, whenever I appeared, I gave the main political, social, evidential voice to the black section that included the whole population in the demography coming from my African and Asian backgrounds. Pascal never, ever could produce the voice that Joseph Harkar credits him with. Pascal didn't save the Notting Hill Carnival. Notting Hill Carnival was saved by the people who had long been sacrificing and fighting for the cultural say, cultural statement. And I have been fighting for Notting Hill Carnival since 1976. Pascal wasn't there. Joseph Harker wasn't anywhere. And the Guardian morons have given them this Pascal the job because of their racist policy. They want somebody like Joseph Harker to be there. I mean, they don't want the truth about the black community struggle that is continuing. Now, all these elected mayors in Lewisham, in Newham, in Hackney, in Tower Hamlets, these are personally corrupt individuals. Like Steve Bullock, I knew the liar when he was one of the crew working at the then GLC and lying for Ken Lying Still Livingstone between, say, 1980, 81. Well, in the period 1981 until the GLC was physically ended in 1986, Steve Bullock was a liar then, and he remains a liar now and has remained a liar since. In Lewisham, he insulted people who were campaigning against his policies, especially his policies of cutting back. And he was insulting people by saying that anyone who campaigned was committing a wrong. Just like Robin Wales condemned the women, the E15 women that were campaigning about housing. And when Roxana Fiaz praised me from behind, she praised me because of the deflation that I had imposed on Robin Wales in that face-to-face confrontation on the 14th of March 2018. That is the date. So I may not have cast a vote against Robin Wales and for Roxana Fiaz in the selection process within the Labour Party in Newham about the candidate for the Labour Party at the election for mayor. But I influenced a lot of people. And I discouraged a lot of people from supporting Robin Wales. Does Roxana Fiaz have the basic intelligence to understand that? Those people who claim to be writing about Open Newham, there is a thing called Open Newham. There is a website that is run by a group apparently calling themselves Open Newham. They don't have anything to open people about the facts of what is happening in Newham Council. These must be some of the most lazy people, ignorant people in action within quotation marks in Newham about so-called Newham politics. There is so much corruption, there is so much criminality going on in Newham that any attempt to actually get the facts out to the community would be the easiest of things to do. But these people haven't done that. And the election, so-called, that took place on the 5th of May 2022 produced re-elected Roxana Fiaz. How did that happen? Those people didn't know how to campaign, and they didn't care about campaigning for the people of Newham because there is no significant, noticeable group either among councillors or among would-be councillors or among opposition political groupings in the ordinary population in Neom that wants to deliver a democratic accountability campaign aimed at Neom Council's failures and failings. And we shall be continuing. What time is it now? This is coming just after 55 minutes, I think. This is coming just under a year, under an hour. And we shall be continuing about all these topics and other things in due course. In Tower Hamlets, there is a whole list, very long list of criminality going on, with Lutfur Rahman being active as a criminal in denying the truth on the particular issues. For example, in the meeting that I had with Lutfur Rahman in 2014, the meeting was held about the council, Tower Hamlets Council's lying, dishonesty, corruption, criminality. That meeting should have been attended by at least 4 employees of Tower Hamlets Council to take notes and to check whether the proceedings were being done legally, lawfully, transparently. But instead of any employees of the council being present, Lutfur Rahman himself was there, and then there was this man called Kalam Chaudhry. Now, I have described this Kalam Chaudhry before. Kalam Chaudhry used to be known as Abu Tahir Sinkafoni. Now, Sinkafoni is a village in the Molbi Bazar area in Silot. And Abu Tahir surfaced, to my knowledge, in 1984. He may have appeared in the UK about 1982 or 83, but he introduced himself to me in 1984. I was walking on the pavement, on the side road, let's say, the main pavement in front of the Royal London Hospital that was in the Whitechapel Road. And I was about to cross the zebra crossing. The zebra crossing that approximately goes to the side of the pavement, the other side, where the newsagents are kind of do the business. So I was actually heading for that newsagent shop where I would buy the newspapers. So before I could actually cross the road, I felt that somebody was heading for me, which happens so many times. And this individual came and physically embraced me. And he said words to the effect that what I had been writing was brilliant and very good and all the rest of it. What he was referring to was or were a number of articles that I had been writing and been published in the thing called the Shurma. That is where he introduced himself to me. I had no idea who he was. And it followed that after that meeting, we met again in order to understand what he understood about my writing and what he was thinking about the community, etc., etc. It turned out that he considered himself a journalist and a writer and a commentator. And he was at the time doing the thing called the Dawat. Dawat used to be a publication that belonged to the Jamaat-e-Islami. The Jamaat-e-Islami is Bangla language organ in London. So I met him in a building near the East London Mosque on the Fieldgate Street, where he was situated. Hello, hold on. Don't. Hi. Who is that? No, but don't do that because I'm in the middle of talking to
I
someone.
thought you said come in.
I said hold on.
Oh, I thought you said come in. I was like, oh, I would never do that unless you thought.
No, I was talking.
Oh, I thought you were talking to me.
No. I was.
Oh, sorry, I would never do. You know I'd never do that.
I was in the middle. I am still in the middle of a
Sorry,
long statement. No, I didn't know who it was.
Yeah, oh, I thought you heard me and said come in.
I didn't recognize who it was.
I was going to tell him I just went to get. I'd never do that to you, sir.
Is that done?
Pardon?
Finished, yeah?
Yeah, we do have something to do, but you come and find me. You come and find me. All right?
Now, this is the history of how Abu Tahir Singh Kafani became a Chaudhry. How did he become a Chaudhry? I don't want to give the details here because it will be time consuming. However, it was him as Kalam Chaudhry, or as Abu Tahir as I still know him, who was present at that meeting where Lutfur Rahman was supposed to have Tower Hamlets Council's employees, not Abu Tahir or Kalam Chaudhry. Then he had another person who was not there as an employee of the Tower Hamlets Council called Muhammad Jubair. Now, Jubair is more notoriously recorded as an accomplice of Lutfur Rahman's via the fact that he, Jubair, had been on the Channel S as an employee or as a contributor, as a reporter. I don't know the actual details of the contract, but that is where he is associated with. So that was Kalam Chaudhry, Abu Tahir Chaudhry, or Kalam Chaudhry and Abu Tahir Singh Kafani and Muhammad Jubair. Now, these were not employees of the Tower Hamlets Council. According to due process and according to the law, any meeting about the behavior of the council employees or council decision makers, any meeting that took place with the mayor should be attended, for transparency reason, attended by transparently employed employees of the council. But there was no one from the council. The standing that Jubair had, that is the locus, the legal standing, not the standing in terms of his moral authority. He doesn't have any moral authority whatsoever because of the role he played and has played in promoting the lies of Lutfur Rahman's regime and other lies and other liars. Now, I was astonished to find, as I was waiting outside the room where the meeting took place eventually, before the meeting actually began, I noticed that Abu Tahir or Kalam Chaudhry arrived in a state of real exhaustion. He looked physically tired and physically exhausted, as if he had been running all this time. He could not have been possibly running all this time. He must have come by some kind of transport most of the way, but he was rushing because Lutfur Rahman must have rushed him. Now, why would Lutfur Rahman want Kalam Chaudhry there? at a meeting with me. I had not asked Kalam Chaudhry or Abu Tahir to be there because I would not ask him to be there because it would be completely out of order. My meeting was with Lutfur Rahman as the incumbent in the post of mayor at the expense of the council, which had done criminal, illegal things on issues that I was a party to. Remember the references that I have made? I spoke to Lutfur Rahman on the 29th of October 2010 outside the Brick Lane Mosque. That was a Friday, and it's all on the videos available. And I also spoke to him a few months later on February, 15th of February 2011, outside 164 Brick Lane and near 170 Brick Lane. In the conversation I had with him on the 29th of October 2010, I told Lutfur Rahman that he must listen to me as he was now incumbent, and he must listen to me to avert the disaster and the damage that the criminals in the council were doing and would be doing to the community, to the local community. Now, this was something that didn't last very long because it was the day of Jummah prayers and it was after the Jummah prayers. And what happened was people were coming out of the Brick Lane Mosque, and Lutfur Rahman had his film, his on the video as I videoed him, giving me a salute. Of course, in the video you can't see me, but he's saluting me because I'm behind the camera. Now, I was strategically standing there precisely to record his physical behavior. And the physical behavior should tell any objective observer as to his position. So he was saluting me and he was kind of putting on what Richard Morey must have noticed, a kind of appearance that suggests that his appearance is innocent. But he was not intending to be innocent. He was intending to make sure that he could just about get over this or get out of this incident that he didn't expect. And I had arranged this incident because I knew that he would be going to that mosque. Notice this one. Lutfur Rahman should not have been at the Brick Lane Mosque at all. He should have been going to the East London Mosque, which is where, according to Abbasuddin alias Halal and his submission, the dossier submitted to the Labour Party National Executive Committee, Lutfur Rahman was brainwashed either at or via the East London Mosque or the IFE or whatever. The details can be checked. They are online already. Because that is where Lutfur Rahman actually belongs in terms of his association, in terms of his affinity, in terms of his origin, in terms of his political identity. So Lutfur Rahman did not go to the East London Mosque because he wanted to put on the public appearance that he belonged to the Bangladeshi community that aligned itself with the Brick Lane Mosque. Why am I saying the Bangladeshi community aligned himself with the Brick Lane Mosque? Because the East London Mosque cabal is associated with the Jamaat Islami in Bangladesh. Whereas the Musallis may be ordinary people not affiliated to necessarily any party, including the Jamaat Islami. The main cabal that has been in control of the decisions made in the name of the East London Mosque, which is an absurdity that is so peculiar to England. A mosque is never used, in my knowledge, as a platform for any political or party political kind of organization. I most certainly never had any such experience. So the fact that East London Mosque has been a platform for a cabal that is illicit, politically illicit, and is not representative of the ordinary community of Muslims is an astounding affront and a violation of the rights of the Muslims in the ordinary population in Tower Hamlets. And Lutfur Rahman knows all of that they are illicit, that they are not legitimate, spontaneous representatives of the Bangladeshi community whose votes he exploited. And so he made the appearance in Brick Lane Mosque and wanted to come across as part of the Bangladeshi community, which he never thought he was, because, as I said, of what Abbas Elias Halal knows about Lutfur Rahman. So when he gave me the salute, I knew that this plastic salute was the act of this liar who became too perfect a liar, too early, too young. Now, this encounter was witnessed by a number of other individuals, one of whose name I can put on the record, called Taisur Mahmud or Tassur Mahmud, or I can correct the spelling if I got the spelling wrong. And this individual said to Lutfur Rahman that he really should meet me. That is all he said, Taisur Mahmud. Which he said. To what extent they may have changed the conversation afterwards is another matter, because I don't know what they later discussed. It is quite possible that Lutfur Rahman would have corrected Taisur Mahmud by saying that he should not meet me, which he never did, really. That meeting that I started talking about, that Lutfur Rahman had without the council's employees and officials, was about a very serious list of damages done by the council, damages done by Lutfur Rahman, damages done by his main kind of associate, Alibor Chaudhry, and done by other criminals in the council. So when Lutfur Rahman had that meeting with me, this meeting concerned a very long list of things, as I said. And it could not be the list could not be covered at one single meeting. It needed dozens of meetings, dozens of other communications. And yet, within half an hour of the meeting being underway, two of them, at least Kalam Chaudhry, started saying that he had another appointment to go to. And I think Muhammad Jubair said similar things. And Lutfur Rahman let them go. Now, they should not have been there for a start. But the fact that they went meant that Lutfur Rahman didn't really have any control as to what their real kind of appointments and real loyalties were. And they didn't care as to the seriousness of the damage Lutfur Rahman had done that I was raising there. And they didn't follow up. This happened in 2014. So we're talking now about 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 8 years later, neither Jubair nor Kalam Chaudhary has contacted me about any of that. And I expected them to contact me. Why? Not because I didn't want them there. I most certainly didn't want them there. But I expected them to communicate with me because every single issue involved in Lutfur Rahman's lying and corruption and criminality and deception that was on the list, I had discussed with them in summary over the previous at least 4 years. And on every occasion that I had spoken to them, I had spoken to them as a member of the community, not as a member of the council staff. As a member of the community, as members of the community, they both were loyal to Lutfur Rahman. And I'll give a sample, representative, actual, truthful sample of what they said. I would say, Jubair, have you spoken to Lutfur about what I said? And Jubair would say, he doesn't say Lutfur. He has the highest respect for me. Remember? He has the highest respect from me. That means he doesn't have any respect from me. But that's a form of lie that is used in other communities and cultures as well. And I said to the Abu Tahir or Kalam Chaudhary, he said he has the highest respect for you. And when I met Lutfur Rahman in the basement of a restaurant that is no longer there in the New Road, on the 20th of September 2012, Lutfur Rahman said he had the highest of respect for me. That he said I should have been the MP, not him. I should have been the mayor, not him. What does it all mean? This is a veneer. This is a kind of facade of the liars. The practiced liars lying and colluding with corruption and criminality of the council. So what did they do? This is the technique that Lutfur Rahman used, and the petitioners had no way of bringing this kind of evidence before the attention of Richard Morey, because I was not a witness and I had not offered to become a witness, and I had not been in contact with the petitioners. I had not made the petition. Had I made the petition, or had I been contacted, and had I been truthfully convinced that I should appear as a witness before Richard Morey, I would have said this and much more of the evidence. But Morey didn't know any of this. And despite the fact that he didn't know any of this, he followed the general guidelines of the law, statutes, and he reached the conclusion that he should have reached anyway, despite the fact that Morey himself was prejudiced against Lutfur Rahman on racial grounds. But that prejudice did not dominate his decision to the extent that it would have been different had he been not prejudiced, let's say, because the evidence was too overwhelming factually. Now, what am I saying this for? Because Niwam Council is corrupt to the core, as is Tower Hamlets Council. And these councils are being allowed to behave corruptly, just as Boris Johnson was being allowed to behave corruptly as mayor in the name of London when he was sleeping with Jennifer Arcuri, who was being given access to the facilities of the establishment of the mayor in the name of London. He should not have been sleeping with her and allowing the facilities of the mayor to be used for business purposes by Arcuri. And then he was allowed to lie. And it is now how long? I mean, he started sleeping with Jennifer Arcuri in 2012. And it's 10 years plus since he began his physical relationship with Jennifer Arcuri. And there exists nothing in the parliament, there exists no known procedure in the courts of law that actually can begin to question the behavior of an incumbent mayor or an incumbent mayor of a borough like Tower Hamlets or a borough like Lewisham or a borough like Nehekni or Newham. When the particular individual made an application against Boris Johnson, behaving in bringing the public office to disrepute, words to that effect, that application was dismissed or effectively undermined. So the behavior of the courts in this country, the British courts, Imran Khan should be careful about praising the British democracy. I shall come to that all again in an update later, not in this edition, because this edition is now more than an hour long and we should be bringing this edition to an end. So we shall be talking more about all of this and also updating on the depravity of Boris Johnson, depravity of Liz Truss, and showing that baby angel Geronimo, who is witnessing their depravity and depraved degeneration as they collapse, as baby angel Geronimo knew they would collapse, and baby angel Geronimo expects and deserves to see these criminals collapse in the sea and muck of the depravity.